Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, dear ITB family. It's great to have you back on board here on the orange stage for the ITB Berlin Convention. Of course, all our sessions will be available later on YouTube, but now we are diving here live on our orange stage with the Global Roundtable into the question, what is coming up next? What are the chances? What are the challenges? But also, what are the opportunities? And for that, I welcome the anchorman at the CNN, Richard Quest, who will be moderating the next session.
Good morning, one and all. I always think it's quite good at these events to be the first, or at least one of the first panels of the day, whilst we still get people while they're fresh, or at least relatively fresh. The panel that we're going to talk about this morning is obviously, look, it's really difficult when you deal with tourism. I'm just going to take 30 seconds before I introduce the panel, because it's really difficult, because we all know what the issues are. We all know the difficulties that exist. But I think it was a European Commission president who once said, we all know what needs to be done, we just can't get re-elected if we do it. And that is the difficulty that all these tourism ministers are going to have when they come up here and sit on the panel. Oh, they'll wax lyrical about this and their policy on that. But they all know it means hard choices if you're actually going to deal with the issues. And here's the question. How do you put forward hard choices when at the same time you're selling dreams and paradise? How do you on the left hand say, what a wonderful place we've got? Oh, and by the way, we have terrible blah, 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 blah. And that's the difficulty. That's the difficulty with this whole industry. You're selling dreams and paradise, but at the same time, you're facing some of the most existential crises. And it's how we balance those that we're going to talk about in the next half hour or so, assuming this stays in my head. Joining me to discuss is Mirela, Kumbaro, the Tourism Minister of Albania, Nabeela, Tunis, the Tourism and Cultural Affairs Minister of Sierra Leone, Tonči, Glavina, the Minister of Tourism and Sport from Croatia, and Eduardo Santander, the CEO of the European Travel Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to our panel. Right. So, I'm going to move my chair around a little bit so I can see you all. That's better. Now, there's only one rule that we start off with. And I will fine anyone who offends. We are not here to discuss or debate the importance of tourism. All right? We know 10% of the global population, blah, blah, largest single industry, blah, blah, blah. So please do not waste the valuable time that we have telling me how important it is, other than maybe to tell me how important it is in your country as a percentage of GDP and why you think you're being listened to by the Prime Minister, President or Cabinet and not just being ignored like many ministers are. Let's start with you, Mirela. First names, if I may, because normally I would just say Minister, but we can't really do that today. In Albania, I know the issues. I've been to your country. In fact, I was just looking. I've been since, by the way, I first went to your country in 1988.
It was another time.
It was another time. I'm a lot older.
And in another country, maybe.
No, it was still called Albania.
Yes, of course, but Albania has so many changes now and so quickly that it seems that in another country, with all what the history and the tradition has given to us.
How are you watching and learning what other countries have done? Because your tourism industry...
Are you saying that we have not the right to make some mistakes?
I would, as a headmaster once said to me, there are two ways to learn. You can learn by seeing other people's mistakes, or you can learn by making your own.
We try to do our best in the both ways. I was just kidding, but we are trying to learn from the mistakes of other countries who have started to offer tourism industry maybe 50 years ago, 60 years ago, as we are surrounded by giants of tourism, starting from Croatia, Italy, just in front of Albania, Greece, in the south of Albania. But on the other side, I think that maybe we can improve, and not only improve based on the mistakes of the other, but also by learning from our recent story, which is not an easy one. So I think who is starting from the scratch has the luxury not to make mistakes, but finding the right balance between the mistakes of the other and learning by our own mistakes is maybe the best way.
It is the best way. It's the trickiest way.
The trickiest way.
And related to that, Minister Glavina, Croatia, of course, has had such a phenomenally great success with tourism, and with that has now come the pains of that. How are you managing it?
Well, I think it comes down to your original questions when it comes down to numbers. And we have stopped talking about numbers for quite some time now, not because we have nothing to be proud of, on the contrary, but because we are trying to focus our not just tourism sector, but the general population, that measurement of good quality tourism, significance of tourism, it's not in arrivals and overnight stays. It is how much actually contributes to overall goal, overall economic prosperity, contribution to GDP, and how many jobs and quality of life. And now for Croatia,
I think you're right at the macro level, and certainly at the policy level. I don't think that works at the grassroots. I don't think that message has got down.
Well, I think actually it has, because when you look at our numbers over the past period, 2 years, they are record numbers, but they are within like 1% growth or so. So basically, we have arrived to the point that we communicate this freely to everyone, that this is about our carrying capacity. We're not focused on bigger numbers. We're not focused on more overnight stays. We're not focused on more arrivals necessarily, especially in the summer season. There's plenty of room to grow, and we have been significantly growing pre- and post-season and developing continental and hinterland of the coastal areas.
I want to hear from everybody before we go further. Eduardo, are you expecting, are your members ready for a reduction in visitors from the United States this year?
I think they are and they aren't. And the quest from Richard Quest is whether every destination, whether it's in Europe or in Africa, we are obsessed for being the first. To be the first in accommodations, in arrivals.
Let's just stick with the United States, please, because this is a Trump question.
There is a context to this, because the context to this is that it's very easy to quantify and to aim for being the first, but it's much more difficult to aim to be the best, because it has to do with competitiveness and many other aspects that are non-tourism related. To your question, American is a big question mark for Europe this year. For the time being, no news, good news. Biggest capacity in the history of transatlantic relationships, and in terms of air capacity, records in every single European country of American visitors. Talking to people from US, they say so far so good. So brace if there is a travel warning, or say Mr. Trump says from one day to another, stay in the United States. Let's protect our economy, and don't visit you because they are not our friends. This can happen. We don't expect that to happen, though.
Do you think that, it's a really difficult question, this, but do you think that Americans visiting Europe will feel the backlash from Europeans?
I don't think so, because first of all, tourism for us is policy making. For the business is business, so to make money, but for the clients is pleasure. It's the pure economy of the pleasure. So no one can stop the pleasure. And this is why I think that people, mostly after the COVID period, has all the will to visit as much as we can, as often as we can, other countries everywhere. And for Albania, for example, who is a new destination, we have seen in the last year expanding the map of the world where the people are coming from in a very quickly and fasting way. So from America, both Latin or North America, from Asia and from Europe.
I want to talk to you, ma'am, because when I say new kid on the block, you know what I mean. Your tourism industry is nascent. And I think when we talk about African and the South African tourism, we are talking about so many different markets, intra, regional, domestic, but you're trying to develop all of them at once.
Yes, exactly. And that's what Sierra Leone is doing at the moment, because as you rightly stated, we're more or less a new kid on the block. We're an emerging destination. And therefore, we're looking at several models. But what we did last year was, first of all, to institute a campaign. It was a year-long campaign which sought to get nationals, to have some level of unaided awareness about tourism, because we believe that authenticity is really important in Sierra Leone. Most of our touristic sites are based on our natural landscape, and therefore we need to get citizens to understand that this landscape needs to be preserved.
So you've not only got to get your people to preserve the if you will, the product.
Yes.
You've then got to teach them about when I say teach them about hospitality, I don't mean a warm welcome. I mean, you've got to develop a hospitality industry per se.
But one thing I can tell you is that Sierra Leoneans are hospitable people. So it comes naturally when you
but I've yet to go to any country where I've been told that they're not hospitable.
No, then you need to visit Sierra Leone. It's a different country, I have to tell you. So the people
don't
there
start
are just
the other
special.
two. The other two
I will.
The other two will launch themselves at you.
I will certainly. It's a unique country, and our tourists.
Okay, where do you want your visitors to come from?
Most of our visitors at the moment come from the United States and Canada. They're our key source markets, and then you have Europe coming as second best. So definitely we're looking at the European market a lot. I'm hoping that Croatia and Albania, now that I'm sitting on the panel with them, would start to think about visiting Sierra Leone, and we could do the same as well. I mean, it's all about having that connectivity, bridging, looking at tourism as an enabler for peace and national cohesion.
I think that's all right, but the problem of this very room is that we are talking at the destination level. Destination is only one piece of the difficult cake that we are trying to bake in this oven of tourism and hospitality and transportation and infrastructure. So when the Minister for Sierra Leone is saying that they want more Europeans, they definitely, will have to come probably by plane and by different means of transport. And, I lack here, Richard, in ITB, in many other shows, like the fact that, we are preaching to believers. We are always telling, how good tourism is. We know this is a fact. But we need to explain that, to a further audience, which is not only and here the media, by the way, plays a huge role. Media comes from mediate between the public opinion and the facts. Fact is that tourism is good. We know that, and you don't want to talk about it. It's good for many things. It's good for the economy, but it starts to have some cracks here and there.
Where are the cracks?
Well, the crack is the perception that people have about this industry, an industry that everybody loves. And if you want to go philosophical, the industry of happiness, the industry of peace, whatever.
Yeah, get on with it.
Okay? No. I'll leave it. But the reality of it, that we have some cracks and we have to heal. And there are some, these are seasonality, at least in Europe, in 96% of European destinations. Problem with dispersion of tourists. People go to the same places, and normally at the same times. We have a problem of perception of local population starting to happen in some places. Anecdotally, maybe in Barcelona, here and there yet, but this is a sign or a symptom of a sickness.
Two things that I want to add to that.
Dubrovnik!
Before Dubrovnik, I want to answer a Trump question. I think that's important for this audience to hear. As it is a big part, of course, important market for us, I have myself experience of living there for 10 years, and I'll tell you what, I don't think everything that's going on right now will negatively affect the number of arrivals from the United States. Americans in general, on average, don't really care or follow foreign policy. Only thing that's going to influence them to travel or not is the economy, the jobs, disposable income. So if all that is taken care of and there is no signs as of right now that something will happen drastically wrong in the next at least 6 months to a year, then we should be okay with that.
Right.
To add about the cracks, I think there's a major misconception about tourism in general still, because from a macroeconomic standpoint, it's not such a secure industry. It depends, it's volatile, it's affected by changes. But what COVID has proven, and now, for example, what's proven right now in terms of high prices, that inflation that's happening around the world, even Germany, that tourism today is not a want anymore, it's a need. And people choose tourism over many other things. Recent research for this market, for German, suggests that after food, travel is the next thing that they care about. They're willing to spend money, even though they have less money than before. That's very important.
We are talking about cracks, but maybe there are coming back at the first question about the mistakes that other country has maybe done. It is not the case of Albania. It's a new destination, old country, but new destination. And the figures are very significant in Albania. So just to have an idea, because maybe you have heard about Albania as Albania is the host country in this ITB Berlin, but maybe you don't know many things about it. It's a small country with 2.5 million of people inhabitants who has hosted last year almost...
I'll charge you for this advert.
Yeah, 12 million, but I'm not saying that we want to double the 12 million of international arrivals by being now the first country in Europe of the best performance in international arrivals, but also in receipts. But on the other side...
So where do you want to position yourself?
We want to position ourselves in Albania high-end tourism.
Oh, everybody does.
Yes.
Show me
No,
one.
it's not
show
finished.
me
No, it's not
one
finished.
of those stands.
Yeah, but
out
they have
there.
already more than the 5 decades doing tourism. We are just starting.
Right, so you're trying to do the Africa thing of jumping the landline, going straight to the mobile.
I will talk also. I want to talk also about another choice that Albania has done because I'm minister. Not you have presented to me and introduced me as Minister of Tourism. No, I'm the Minister of Tourism and the Environment. Albania is the only country who has choose to have environment and tourism under the same roof.
Hold that thought for one moment, because I want to challenge you on that in just a moment. But I
can't wait.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just also wanted to taking my cue from the comments that have been made here. I really don't think we need to focus on the cracks at the moment. Because
I don't agree. What would you like to focus on? How wonderful it all is.
No. We'd love to be more positive, because when you're positive, then you can deal with the cracks. Yes, we do know that there are problems with air connectivity. We do know that there are problems accessing other countries, because again, with Africa, we're pushing to have a seamless border so that you have less visas. We're looking at increasing the frequency of flights a week.
The Yamoussoukro Declaration.
We've done that already in Sierra Leone. But again, what we're looking at is complementing what we have to offer. Each and every country has something different to offer. And that is what brings about that more or less connectivity in the entire tourism landscape.
Which is fine until you actually have to put it into operation. It is great. I mean, Africa, since you started me on this one, Africa is a classic example of phenomenal product, incredible promise, shocking execution and delivery in terms of cross-continent delivery. You disagree?
Somehow.
Have you ever tried to fly around the continent?
I have. But again, you have to deal with what you have in front of you, and there are efforts that are being made to increase connectivity.
Look, I'm going to Livingstone for the UN meeting, or whatever meeting it is. The difficulty of getting to Livingstone, which is one of the world's greatest places, is really just phenomenal.
Place. But when you get there, don't you think it was worth the wait?
I don't know, I'll let you know.
Come on. That's what Africa offers,
What, waiting and worth the wait?
Yes, it was. And I'm sure it was the flights as well. It wasn't that bad, when you know what you're going in for.
Richard, I think the biggest fallacy or the most uncomfortable truth about tourism is to think that you can choose your visitors. This is not true. There's a policeman in the airport choosing who is going to enter your destination and how they are going to behave and how much money they are going to spend. My whole point here is and if I have learned anything during the last 25 years, is that tourism is run by two simple equations, or a simple equation, which is time and money to spend. Coming to US again, There's a lot of money there because the dollar is very strong. And because of COVID, after COVID, smart working, teleworking, people have more time to travel. Therefore, Americans will come back to Europe massively as long as the dollar is strong. Same for Europeans, by the way. You know, we made the biggest mistake after COVID, if you remember, saying, oh, this is just the ketchup bottle effect, the champagne effect. People will travel only for 2-3 years because there's pent-up demand, there's money in the pocket, there's savings. We were wrong, all of us. ETC, UNWTO, WTTC, because guess what? People stopped saving in other aspects of their lives. They stopped going for dinners in their own home countries and stuff, and
they travel.
Buying a second car and stuff like that. But they didn't stop traveling, and they put it on the top of their human needs if they want.
I want to come to your point, because you're the minister of both, and of tourism and the environment, and in some shape or form, I've seen this in different guises: Minister of Tourism and Sport.
Or culture.
Minister of Tourism and Culture. Minister, one country's put it with transportation.
Yes, also.
Is it?
Yeah,
You're not. No, it's the
Sport.
commissioner, isn't it? His commissioner's got
Sustainable transport
sustainable transportation.
and tourism.
Sorry?
Sustainable transport and tourism.
So 3 cliches.
No. Yeah.
Right. But my point is, isn't tourism sufficiently important to stand on its own and stand its corner against environment? Because I understand sustainable tourism, I get it, but why environment versus transportation versus culture?
I'm changing my cascade, leaving the tourism cascade, and I'm putting the other one, environment. For a country, there are not recipes, but for a country as Albania, which is only 28,000 kilometers square, environment is very important. We have the 3/4 of the country mountains. We have 9 rivers, and we have 22% of the territory protected areas. And we have also saved the last wild river of Europe, which is the only river, the river of Vjosa, 480 kilometers of river, not touched, which means that protecting the environment is important. And I think also that more we are considering tourism as hostile to environment, more they become hostile. We should keep the balance. This is why we are keeping under the same roof, and maybe like
so Croatia's got it wrong. So Croatia's got it wrong because he's not environment, as in Sierra Leone.
No, it's not wrong. I'm not giving lesson to anyone, less to my friends. Even because we have a great cooperation, and Croatia has done maybe before what we are doing now, and even our new strategy on tourism, we are working together with the best expert from Croatia, because we are in the Balkan, don't forget. And then now Balkan is a wonderful word, not like history has done before with us. Just, this is why, be patient. Balkan is a
cheap shot.
Balkan is a big map of tourism, because if Americans or tourists from Asia are coming in Europe, they are not coming just for Albania or just for Greece or just for Croatia. We want to keep them. So we are not competing with anyone. We are just sharing the markets, sharing the beauty, sharing tradition. So
you don't believe that?
I believe it strongly.
So you don't?
I've not believed this. I could not be Minister of Tourism and Environment in my country. No one obliged me to become Minister.
Tourism is frequently a zero-sum game. The tourist that goes to France doesn't go to Greece. The tourist that goes to the US doesn't. Yeah, you're going to point out to me the cross-border.
No, but I'm talking from Greece to Croatia. I'm not competing with my dear country of culture, which is France.
But if I can give you an exciting thing about the environment, since you brought it up. Exciting project that we're doing, I think that this is going to end up being something that most countries are going to end up doing in the long run. Okay, for the first time, and we're the only country in Europe right now doing this, we're doing a green satellite account. Green satellite account is green satellite tourism account. Satellite tourism account is something they usually just measure direct and indirect economical benefits of tourism to economy. But green satellite account is something new, which actually measures not only the benefits, but measures the cost. how much you have actually hurt the environment, how much resources have you used, how much all this profitability that you have made directly, indirectly from economical standpoint, how much it has actually costed you. This is a project that we're doing now with experts from European Union, OECD, and in the 2026 we'll have the first results. We're doing this on a macro level, on a regional level, and I think that's going to be a game changer for anybody who really considers implement sustainability, because it will show you how much it's actually costing us. It's costing us a lot.
Okay, I could arguably say that's great, but A, if you had the right policies in place in the first place, you wouldn't be having detrimental aspects. And B, is anybody going to take any notice of the results?
Absolutely, but no, I disagree with you, because it's very simple. Compare tourism to hosting a party in your house. Okay, it's normal that you're hosting a party. It's normal that you're social beings. If you have 30 people in your house and everybody leaves at some point, of course there's going to be some mess to clean up and deal with. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a party. It means that you should manage it all. And that's the whole game, is managing it.
One wrong fact and another uncomfortable truth. First wrong fact, multi-destination travel in Europe is booming. It's booming among younger generation, it's booming about long-haul travelers. They travel to many places in short periods of time, but they do a lot of cross-border traveling. First, that's a fact. The uncomfortable truth coming to the environmental part, if you want the sustainability debate, is that decarbonizing tourism is almost an exercise of, how did John Mayer, you told me before?
If there were any easy answers, do you not think we'd have found them by now?
Yeah. Decarbonizing the tourism industry is very complex, because it's made of layers of other industry that we cannot control, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's transportation, whether it's... And I'm missing here people from the real estate industry, from the thing that could tell us what they are doing also to decarbonize, because the vast majority of our CO2 emissions come from the transport. And they're not here in the room. And when we talk to them about what we should do as destinations, is to support them in that pathway to decarbonation. That's what destinations can do. Because for the time being, European tourism run on aviation, 100%, point to point. And that's why people go to Greece and they don't go to Albania in the same year at least. Because we created this kind of exodus, north-south in the summer, where people from northern countries go to the sun, and in the winter some people.
I'll come to you in a moment, Minister. What would you do instead?
What do you mean?
Well, if that's the natural traffic...
the solution for that is definitely smart transportation solutions. We know that in Europe we have a great rail system, but it doesn't work. Or it doesn't connect. Two countries. You cannot make tickets from Norway to Greece, or you can it, but it's a rather complicated exercise.
Why do you think, since we know the problem, why do you think we haven't found the solution? Or if we have found the solution, we haven't managed to implement it? You, then you, then you.
I think because it's uncomfortable, and because we're still working in silos, including tourism. We talk to ourselves, we preach to believers, we don't want to share. Even nations or countries are competing for the same piece of cake. They want the high spender, you told us before. And when you want the same thing, you don't want to, to share your flaws and maybe your weaknesses, or even your opportunities, or the things that you're doing well. Huh?
Richard, there's no way we can shy away from competition. That's the reality. But going back to the different tourism sectors within our different countries, it just tells you the importance about tourism. It is so interrelated and intertwined. In Sierra Leone, we have a Ministry of Tourism and Culture, because the cultural aspect is part of the authenticity, the products that we offer. But aside from that, this year we have dedicated it as the year of ecotourism. And we're having an eco-conscious trail, because what we are doing in Sierra Leone is keeping people at the center. And we're having, community-driven and community-led tourism. So issues whereby, you have problems with the mass tourism, or people not really understanding, or having to not get a situation or an experience where they immerse themselves in nature, is what we are trying to avoid. So we're bringing it at the center, having that inclusivity. And interestingly, you would realize that now we have a very young population in Sierra Leone, and most of them are within the creative sector, and it's brimming with a lot of talent. And that is part of our tourism product as well. So probably you'd see the different kind of sectors, different ministries attached to other ministries. But again, it shows you how interrelated the tourism department is, and it depends on governments, really.
One of the things really is crucial is, of course, the significance of your Prime Minister or President or Head of State, whatever.
Prime Minister.
Now, in the case I was going to talk to, having met your Prime Minister,
yeah.
The message comes very clear from him. The significance of tourism to the future growth of the country is absolutely crystal clear.
Absolutely, because we have already choose what the development of Albania is. We are not aiming to develop industry or other branch. Everything is going in this direction. Tourism will be our industry. This is why it's a top priority, and we are trying to connect infrastructure, agriculture, culture, and everything on this direction.
So one of the things I'm fascinated about with Albania, and indeed with yourself, because I've seen this happen in many countries, it is how do you prevent/regulate when the wall of money of investors spotting that lake, spotting that mountainside, spotting that, make a great resort, and suddenly it's almost irresistible because the sums involved are so great.
But it's not impossible. It's not impossible. Even because for Albania, as I said before, being a small country, trying to find the right balance between the mountains, as you mean, the landscapes, the lakes, and the waters, it's really important. If you are thinking as today, just for money, okay, could be difficult to resist. But we are, the Prime Minister that you have met, is leading the Albanian government for the 3rd mandate now, and we are preparing the 4th one. This is stability. This is stability which has given to us the possibility to create long-term politics, long-term investments. And this is why it was possible to resist, but also to prevent, but also to imagine. Tourism is not just a dream, is a vision for us, and is a vision how to develop the country, but also it's emancipation. For Albania, who has been isolated for half a century under the widest dictatorship, it's really important to keep this as a bridge with Europe, as a bridge with the world, and as the bridge with the next generation.
I want to ask you, sir, before you answer that point, because we're running out of time. Tourism's at a bit of a crossroads at the moment. This year there will be a new Secretary General voted for UN tourism. Of our panelists, you are the only country that is on the Executive Council this year. Has Croatia decided how you're going to vote?
No. We actually have a round of bilateral meetings throughout the day today, tomorrow, and we're communicating with our partners. It's in May, so we have plenty of time, and we'll make our decision accordingly. I'm sure it's going to be the right one. But to answer your question from earlier, this is important. You ask how to limit, and this is something that we are actually doing right now, and it's also a pioneering project. So with new law, new bylaws, we have put obligations. So every destination in Croatia that is in the category of most developed tourism region in country. There's about 110 destinations that we have actually measured through this very prescribed process. They have obligation to do carrying capacity study, and carrying capacity study tells you what actually ability of destination is in terms of traffic, parking, in terms of infrastructure, electricity, water, sewage, ability of people to work, how many employees you have. This study is actually very difficult to make, and it has to be made in the correspondence with the actual scientists, with the institutes and things like that, with universities. Once you have that, the document tells you, at that point you have to say no more. Because if the study shows that you have limitations with any of these things that I just mentioned, there's actually more, but we're not going to get into it, we don't have enough time. You will actually have to say no, and even though there's that beautiful hill, like you said, you will not be able to build on it.
How many times off the top of your head, have you had results worth no more?
Worth no more?
No more. How many of those studies have come back and people have been told, no, Can't do it.
Actually, this is the end of the year, 2025 is the end date for all these destinations to finish. So this is the process that we just started half a year ago. So actually it's going to have to give us some time. I think we will have the significant results in 27, and I think a lot of them will actually be at the point in which they will have to do certain limitations.
I think degrowth in tourism is another fallacy. Like nobody wants really to degrow in numbers, really. On the paper, everybody's saying, yeah, we want the high spenders and, we want the quality instead of quantity and so on. But the reality, is you keep building hotels and, like increasing your rooms, you have to fill them. Or if you are, cutting deals with airlines, you need those planes to be full of tourists and so on. So we need to just start telling the truth about what we want and we don't want. And coming back to my first point, is becoming the best is much more difficult than becoming the first. The best in perception, the best in quality of service. We were talking about that, Richard, before in backstage, that quality of service is something that Europe has to very much take into account, that because we are competing with many other regions in the world which are providing a better service for
Which areas of the world is Europe losing out to?
Southeast Asia, the Gulf countries. Definitely, the level of service is higher, sometimes the price is lower. So, and this, remember my equation of time and money. People will put their money and time in other destinations if we don't take care of the quality of service, which, by the way, without opening another dialogue here, has to do with providing people with the right skills and the right work environment for staying in tourism.
Before I hear from the three ministers, take it as read that your country has superb service. You don't need to respond to the idea that Europe has a problem with service or that there's a perception of service. You don't need to address that question. We can take it as read that you've told me that your country does not have that problem or does not face that problem. What I want to know from you in the last few minutes is what's the number one priority for you in the next 24 months?
One of the top priorities, talking about tourism, that maybe we have not yet really mentioned is the human resources. So even because, and now we have started a new strategy by inviting Albanians who are all abroad to come back in Albania, because the transition after that, the dictatorship failed. It was not easy at all. And we had a big immigration in different directions, mostly in Italy, in Greece, but even in Germany. And now with the growth of economy and the tourism becoming a very important industry, we need these human resources, we need these people. And we have opened the labor market to other countries, from Philippines, from Thailand, from different countries from Asia, who are coming in Albania to work. Why not the Albanian peoples? Even because it's important for the proudness that we want to have in Albania.
I mean, the best thing is if you can bring your own people back. There's an authenticity.
Yeah. We are trying to do this even mostly in Greece.
Interestingly, Sierra Leone wants to have a private sector-led industry. So our focus for the next 24 months is ensuring that we have increased investments and also ensuring that it's a community-led and community-driven process. So most of the models that we're looking at in terms of investment, it's a public-private community partnership. And even with the World Bank projects that we have that are actually almost at the concluding stage, we have devised models that bring the community at the hem. So capacity building from that community perspective is really important for us so that we can maintain sustainability. Because where we are right now at the beginning stages, we're learning from other countries. And, once you have the people, as long as you have the people fully immersed and fully involved in what is happening within the tourism landscape, it makes it a lot easier to sustain what we're doing. And so that's the approach that we're taking in Sierra Leone.
Final question. Now, imagine I have a ticket in my pocket for a holiday. You can take the family. The only one problem, it can't be your own country. It has to be one of the other two countries represented.
I have to answer it first.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I'll give you time to think. I'll give you time to think diplomatically.
No, I will be direct.
Richard, I'll break the ice because I'm representing 35 countries. It's easier for me.
Don't you want him to finish?
I'd say, we all have to make this exercise of retrospective and see, what travel means to yourself. And there are different philosophy. You like philosophy sometimes.
Where are you going? Which country are you going to?
Of the three of them, Sierra Leone for sure. I've never been, so.
If I may
where
add
are
to
you
that,
going?
if I may add to that as well, I've been to Albania, but I have never been to Sierra Leone, and I think it's a very, very unique country in many ways, tourism sense. Would love to go there for sure.
Great.
I will propose you two. Croatia, because I know, so I can give you very good address. And in Sierra Leone, because I don't know, and the curiosity is bigger for me, at least. But don't forget Croatia, because Albania is too close, so you can come in Albania again.
But will you be able to get me a reservation at a good restaurant?
This is a big difficulty
We haven't got
in
time.
Albania, because the biggest difficulty in Albania is the difficulty of the choice.
Oh, you're
And
good.
in Albania,
You are good. All right, where am I going? Well, I went to Albania in 1988. Long story as to why, but it was good. So I need to go back to Albania. I need to go back to Croatia to see how you've dealt with the cruise ships post Dubrovnik and all of that.
You'll be impressed.
Sorry?
I said you'll be impressed. That was me.
I didn't
I
hear
think
the
it's
most
got to be
important
Sierra
bit.
Leone
Of course, it has
because
to be
I haven't
Sierra Leone.
been. So I think you've got your work cut out for you. We all arrive next Thursday at 4
may I have a last word?
What?
A last word for me. Yeah, because it's a host country. I deserve it. Yes, the last word.
Does she
is
get the last word?
We'll give it to her. We'll give it to her. We'll give it to her.
You get the last word.
We'll give
Thank
it to her.
you. Maybe you have not yet visited Albania. How many people has been in Albania here? So just keep a word. Albania and hospitality. We have created a new word, Albanity. Don't forget it and welcome in Albania.
She's buying dinner for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, our panel.
Thank you.